Very good evening and welcome to the show. You're watching Headlines now and I'm Ashmit Kumar. I, of course, will be tracking the top stories for the day for you. And, of course, speaking of the top stories, we will be closely tracking the preparations of not only the Commissioner, of not only the corporation, but also the various political parties as they get ready to take on the challenge of the local body elections. Meanwhile, we'll also be tracking the repercussions of course, a number of developments coming in from the capital as well.
The DMK chooses to play a wait-and-watch game with the local body elections and the developments in the 2G spectrum case. I'm Pratiksha Ramkumar and I'll be bringing you more on this issue.
Well, precisely, that's Pratiksha. We'll be coming back to her in just a bit. But first, a look at the top stories. Tamil Nadu Cabinet firms up against the Kudankulam nuclear power plant, passes resolution to suspend work after 12-day-long protest by locals. DMK announces their lineup for the local body polls. Mayor M. Subramaniam will fight for re-election. MDMK and PMK shared excess weight of alliance politics, both parties to contest the elections alone. Amma locks horns with the centre, says that with recent revelations, P. Chidambaram should either resign or be sacked.
Mr. Chidambaram should immediately resign from his post, or else the Prime Minister should immediately drop him.
In the Arakuram train collision, was the motorman busy talking over a mobile phone? Investigators reveal initial findings to NDTV-HINDU. DMK's top leaders Nehru and Punmudi face the heat on the land grab offensive. Fresh charges slapped, Nehru's remand extended. Postmortem report on 10-year-old boy who died in a freak accident is out. He fell into the Kuam and drowned. And Chennai's got drivers revved up to burn their tyres on the tarmac of the Budh International Circuit. Let's also have a look at the top stories pouring in from across the nation. Legendary cricketer and former Indian captain Mansoor Ali Khan Pataudi passes away. Condolence messages pour in from across the world. A daring rescue by the army. The forces are out for a dramatic rescue in the quake-hit areas of Sikkim. The Sensex crashes by over 700 points. It's the biggest drop since May as the rupee slumps to 49 rupees for dollar. Outrage over the Planning Commission's BPL figures. 32 rupees a day means you're not poor. And Anna Hazare says he'll go on a fast again if the Maharashtra government doesn't enact a strong Lokayuk bill. But first up in our top story, even as the debate on a nuclear power rages on, the Tamil Nadu Cabinet passed a resolution this evening seeking suspension of the work at the nuclear power plant in Kudankulam. Now, this development comes in light of the Chief Minister backing the concerns of thousands who had undertaken an indefinite fast against the nuclear plant. Now, she had assured that the state would present a memorandum to the Prime Minister conveying the concerns. Now, earlier, Amma had also dispatched a strongly worded letter to the centre alleging abdication of responsibilities. Meanwhile, the centre has been making efforts to calm the tense nerves in the state over the 1,000-megawatt project. Now, the protesters had cited concerns about the security of the locals in light of the recent near-crisis situations in more developed nations such as Japan and France. And while in moves made by the cabinet that have come as a relief for thousands of protesters who had undertaken an indefinite fast against the project. Now, after securing the resolution from the cabinet, the protesters called off the fast. Earlier, 100 villagers had called off the protest after assurance from the Chief Minister. Now, after the recent developments concerning nuclear power in France and at the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan, the locals had been agitating against the 1,000-megawatt plant, citing safety concerns. Well, moving on to news coming in about the forthcoming civic polls, the local body elections are to be held in two phases. The first phase of polling is slated for the 17th of October, while the second phase of polling is to be held on the 19th. Now, the filing of nominations began today. It will, of course, while the last day for 200 wards will be on the 29th of this month. Now, counting and results will then be declared on the 21st of October. Well, speaking of the local body elections, the DMK today announced the list of candidates who will be taking on the challenge of the civic body polls. Now, importantly, the DMK has expressed faith in the incumbent Mayor M. Subramanian. He has been allowed a chance to fight for re-election. Meanwhile, in a carefully articulated statement, the DMK chief Karunanidhi announced that though the party will tread the waters by itself, challenges in certain pockets will require the party to join forces with other political outfits. Now, meanwhile, commenting on the electoral strategies of the Congress, he remarked that both parties were comfortable and happy contesting the polls separately.
மாநகராட்சி மன்ற மேயர் பதவிக்கான வேட்பாளர்கள் ஒன்று சென்னை திரு மா சுப்பிரமணியம் LLB.
Well, for more on that, let's go across to our reporter Pratiksha, who's joining us live right now. Pratiksha, first up, of course, these moves being made by the DMK ahead of the local body elections, some very interesting ones. Let's first talk, of course, about the election strategy of retaining the incumbent, Mr. M. Subramanian, as the contestant for the Chennai mayor post.
That's right, Ashmit. In fact, they have reposed their faith in the current Mayor Subramaniam. In fact, they have felt that he's done a great job with the corporation and with all the development works, and he's also been very friendly with different parties and also with the media. So definitely they have reposed their faith. He is going to be the incumbent mayoral candidate. That was something that was pretty much unexpected lines, Ashmit. Now the DMK had really been planning to play the wait and watch game. They were the last party actually to announce their candidates for the mayoral and the ward elections. They were saying that they will announce the names only after the election commission is very, very clear about the dates of the elections and also demarcating of the constituencies on the basis of reservation and the constituency reserved for women. So definitely this time they have reposed their faith in the DMK loyalists. Most of the other mayoral candidates have again been people who have been very loyal to the DMK, popular councillors, existing ward councillors who have been here for the last 5 years. While they haven't really given out the names of the ward councillors candidates too, which is expected sometime later tonight or even tomorrow, they are very clear that as of now the trend looks like they are going to repose their faith in people who are right now in the post. So most of the candidates are going to be incumbent candidates, and the DMK has also been very playing a very tightrope walk with the State Election Commission, because they feel the officer Mr. Cho Iyer is biased towards the ADMK. So definitely they say that they are putting their belief in Mr. Cho Iyer and they hope that he will conduct a free and fair election. Ashmit?
Right, Pratiksha, stay with us. We'll come back to you in just a bit now. Now, meanwhile, repercussions of Pranab Mukherjee's letter in March this year to the PMO were also being felt right here in Chennai. And while keen on balancing the symbolic reprieve to the DMK's wounded and the strategic alliance with the Congress, after the revelation of Pranab's letter to the PMO, the DMK chief issued a carefully articulated statement. Now, responding to calls demanding resignation of P. Chidambaram, he said that he was not certain of the facts and that only P. Chidambaram was in a position to make such a call, that is, if he's found guilty. Now, however, milking the situation, DMK chief backed Raja's long-standing claim that the Prime Minister and the then Finance Minister were kept in the loop.
Sir, our உள்துறை அமைச்சராக இருக்கார், அவர் கீழ இருக்கக்கூடிய CBI தான் அதை என்கொயரி பண்ணுது. அவர் அந்த துறையில நீடிப்பது சரியா இருக்கும்.
நான் இதற்கு மேலே பற்றி விரிவாக பதில் சொல்ல விரும்பவில்லை. ஏனென்றால் முழுமையான விவரம் எதுவும் கிடைக்காமல் பதில் சொல்வது நல்லதல்ல.
Well, in fact, earlier in the day, the DMK sources were claiming that the revelations courtesy of Pranab Mukherjee's letter had vindicated Raja and Kanimuri. Now, Mr. Raja is alleged to have ignored the advice from other ministers to auction the spectrum, causing thousands of crores in losses. However, a storm gripped the power circles in Delhi as a note from the Finance Ministry in March this year, forwarded to the Prime Minister's office, suggested that Mr. Chidambaram should have insisted on an auction. And while fault lines are beginning to appear with the Congress's top brass, Amma was the latest political heavyweight to join the chorus baying for blood. Now, aiming for the Home Minister, she said that Chidambaram should either resign or the Prime Minister should sack him. Now, importantly, she chose to stay mum on the political brownie points that the DMK is expected to score.
It is quite clear that Mr. Chidambaram is deeply involved in the 2G spectrum scam, which according to the CAG's report has caused a loss of over 1,76,000 crore rupees to the Indian Exchequer. Mr. Chidambaram should immediately resign, or else the Prime Minister should immediately drop him from the Union Cabinet, and the CBI should proceed against Mr. Chidambaram as they did against Mr. Raja.
Moving ahead now, tracking that story more carefully, in his first reaction to the revelation of a note sent by him to the PMO questioning Chidambaram's role in the 2G case, Pranab Mukherjee has said that the matter is sub judice and that the courts will decide. Now, Mr. Mukherjee, who is visiting the United States for some key business meetings, also described as a sensational news on the note. Now, the Finance Minister also talked about a Right to Information Act and credited the RTI for bringing this out in the public. Now, the note, which exposes the war between him and the Home Minister P. Chidambaram, indicates that if Chidambaram had stuck to his guns in 2008, spectrum could have been auctioned and that the entire 2G scam could have been avoided.
In fact, today a sensational news item has come, and it is through the exercise of the right to information. A note was sent by the Minister of Finance to Prime Minister. Somebody demanded through the use of right to information to have the copy of that note from the Prime Minister's Secretariat, and that is being used. Whether legally it can be used or not, that's a different story. But the fact of the matter is, somebody has produced that as a piece of evidence to in a particular case. The matter is sub judice. Court is.
So do you have any reaction to the controversy back home? Sir, are you saying the matter is sub judice and you just won't comment on this at all? So you said that this is sub judice. Could you explain a little bit more about what you mean, so that why you couldn't comment on it right now? So your letter that says Mr. Chidambaram should have done something more. Could you just explain about that, sir, please?
Well, the man who now finds himself in the eye of the 2G storm, Mr. P. Chidambaram, is away in Sikkim, surveying the destruction caused by the earthquake and meeting quake victims. Now, NDTV's Saurabh Gupta asked Mr. Chidambaram for his reaction, and this is what he had to say.
Slightly on a different note. So just on the let us be serious about what they accomplished. So just on the let us be serious about what they accomplished.
And while gearing up for the polls, that's of course the local body elections here in Tamil Nadu. The ruling alliance members in the state, AIDMK, the left and the DMDK, are meeting. Now they are likely to negotiate over the number of mayoral and ward councillor seats being given to their parties. Now the allies expressed regret over not being offered any mayoral seats in the local body elections.
மாநகராட்சி மேயர் மற்றும் 200 மாமன்ற உறுப்பினர்களுக்கான தேர்தல் நடத்த ஆயத்த பணிகள் அனைத்தும் செய்யப்பட்டுள்ளன. இந்த மாமன்ற உறுப்பினர்களுக்கான வேட்பு மனுவை தாக்கல் செய்வதற்கு 35 உதவி தேர்தல் நடத்தும் அலுவலர்கள் நியமிக்கப்பட்டுள்ளார்கள். மேயர் தேர்தலுக்கான வேட்பு மனுவை ரிப்பன் மாளிகையிலே மாநகராட்சி ஆணையாளரான என்னிடமும், இதுக்கு உதவி தேர்தல் நடத்தும் அலுவலராக நியமிக்கப்பட்டுள்ள மேற்பார்வை பொறியாளர் பேருந்து சாலைகள் துறை சூப்பர்னிங் இன்ஜினியர் பஸ் ரூட் ரோட்ஸ் அவர்களிடமும் வேட்பு மனுவை தாக்கல் செய்யலாம்.
Well, that was in fact the Corporation Commissioner, Mr. D. Karthikeyan, stressing on, of course, the preparations for the same local body elections, stressing that the election apparatus is more than ready, and that it's more than ready to elect 200 councillors and a mayor. Meanwhile, he stressed on issues such as, of course, 35 assistant election officers who have been appointed to accept nominations. And of course, staying with that theme of the local body elections, in more updates about the preparations for the elections, Vaiko-led MDMK has announced plans of contesting the civic body elections by themselves without any alliance partners. Meanwhile, the PMK appeared to follow suit, deciding to face the elections alone. Ramados and company have steered clear of alliance politics and compromises. Well, for more on that, let's go across to our reporter Pratiksha, who's still with us. Pratiksha, of course, we spoke of the local body elections. A quick word, of course, of news coming in from the AIDMK camp of a little unrest, fault lines being seen there as far as demands of the alliance partners are concerned.
Yes, Ashmit, see, the problem really began when the parties did not really make it clear if their alliance, their political alliance that was forged in March would continue even after the state assembly was formed. Now, that wasn't made very clear. So, the DMDK and the CPI and CPM were very upset when the AIADMK really released its mayoral candidates and the ward councillor list without consulting their alliances. And basically the DMDK feels that now that they've got a good number in the assembly, they feel that they should have had a share in the mayor's pie too. Because out of the 10 mayoral seats, not even one seat had been given to the DMDK. The DMDK had reportedly been arguing for about four mayoral seats. And then later they even agreed to 2, but even those 2 seats had not been given to them. And even the CPI and the CPM feel that while they had just about 10 seats or 14 seats each out of the 200 ward elections, they were again not consulted on the specific districts that they would prefer, specific areas they would prefer. Basically, they feel their preference were not consulted and the number of seats they have received is also very low. Now, while they have been in negotiation with the AIADMK from yesterday the CPI members went and met the AIADMK members, and even today the CPI and the Muslim League were in talks with the AIADMK till late this evening. In fact, we have just got information that the CPI have walked out of the talks, and as the talks remain inconclusive, which is why they refuse to talk to the media. Now, these talks are expected to go on at least for the next 2 days, but there really is no time left considering the last day of filing nominations is the 29th. So basically now the main things they are going to be arguing for, at least from this communist point of view, is the different locations and preferences in the district that they would want to contest, and the DMDK again would be contesting on the numbers, Ashmit.
So a difficult situation as far as alliance management is concerned. Thanks a lot, Pratisha, for joining us with those latest updates. Now, as we move ahead, from victims of bonded labor to transforming into inspiring change agents, we bring to you this inspirational story that's up on the other side. Keep watching.
There's no OB engineer, it's basically the